an uncle bus driver as he prepares to leave for the last passenger trip of the day. Then an anomaly was detected from the engine behind the bus. You should immediately call the bus company and report. I guess the bus may have a broken fender or fender liner or something. Can I take it to the nearest maintenance station? But the manager announced if he did not bring the car to the garage for inspection, then he had to pay all the costs himself, so the driver decided to still make the last trip of the day. Then take it to the company's garage to repair it later because I don't want to take out my pocket money to maintain this car. After that, many passengers also began to step into the bus, while it was raining non-stop outside. Among these passengers was a pair of grandchildren, but the grandmother only escorted her nephew into the bus, and I asked the driver to watch him help me and get off the bus. Now the radio on the bus is also forecasting a tropical depression that is hitting the mainland, causing rain like a little water accompanied by wind and lightning in many places. At this time, at the bus stop, the Hunmin office employee was waiting for the bus and sent a message to her lover informing her that he was taking the bus to go home. Don't wait for me at the bus stop because it's raining very hard. He'll go home right away. I love you. After that, her lover Ji Jong also read this message from his lover but with a sad face. Because before that, Hunmin's mother came to meet and proposed to the girl Ji Jong. I hope you don't see my son again, because my son can't stand a deaf person like you. After a while, the bus also arrived at the stop but ran past the designated location, because the brake is no longer working well. At this time, the Hunmin office clerk also stepped into the car and almost all the passengers got off the bus. Ji Jong was waiting at the next stop when the bus gave him a puddle of water in his leg. But this boy still had to step on the last bus of the day. The driver began to lose faith in the car's brake system and told himself that he had to take it for maintenance soon. After that, turn on the notice board that no longer accepts passengers and continue your journey. At this time, a couple was sulking at each other and walking down the street, and the two have just gone to see a rented house to live together while Sun Hai loves this apartment very much. The second sister is always dissatisfied because she knows that there are many people living in this area. After that, the girl Sun Hai reprimanded the woman who was walking behind. Because there is no one here, I want to be intimate with you. You don't like that house because there are so many people there, do you? Is our ministry a crime or something that you are so afraid of? How long do you want to hide our story? What's wrong with two women in love? But the second sister is always afraid that people will talk about it. We must constantly give reasons to explain our relationship. I will have more difficulties than you, because our ages are so far apart. She looks like her daughter. The girl Sun Hai immediately shouted and asked her to leave. I don't want to be with you anymore. Understand? Please disappear from my sight. Then the girl threw her red shoes in the middle of the road. So the driver had to stop the bus. That's why the girl Sun Hai was also able to get on this car. The second sister picked up her red shoes and also stepped on the bus, then sat behind his young lover. At this time, there was also a mother and daughter of a schoolgirl beckoning for the bus. The driver immediately signaled that he had stopped accepting customers. But this mother and daughter still decided to chase. Because this was also the last trip, the driver had to stop the car. The schoolgirl Hun Ju immediately asked why he didn't stop the car. His mother's legs were not well. And the car also continued its journey with a total of 7 passengers on board. After a while, the car began to go up a bridge. But when he reached the middle of the bridge, the car suddenly exploded on the front wheel, and the wheel also left its position immediately afterwards. And the brake system of the car is also completely paralyzed. A truck came from behind and hit the bus, causing it to flip across the road, and swinging on the bridge wall, then falling straight into the water below. At this time, the Ju Line lover of the Hunmin office worker was walking alone on the street, and texting me also remember you sent to Hunmin. Then she saw a bus falling straight into the river, so the girl immediately called her lover. But the phone is just a common thing, but no one picks up. The girl immediately called for rescue, but because she was a congenital mute person. Therefore, the Ju Line could not report the incident of the bus name. She hurriedly ran forward and was afraid that her lover was also on that deep bus. And at this time, under the water, Hunmin's phone was still working, and received a message from her lover. After a while, the police and rescue vehicles also took all the victims to the emergency hospital, and the rescue team had to work very hard to get the victims back on their feet. After that, the entire medical team conducted emergency treatment to save the lives of those who had fallen into the water for a long time. Nurse John Ji was at work when an uncle came to tell me that my chest hurt so much. Can you help me? But because he was too busy, the nurse suggested that this uncle wait over there. So the uncle also had to follow the instructions. The same-sex couple was also admitted to the hospital in a state that showed that the sister was squeezing her lover's sister. After a while, John's lover ran to the emergency room. When he went inside, he couldn't see his lover anymore. All the victim's family members gathered outside the operating room in an extremely nervous and worried mood. Then a body was pushed outside, and the doctor also called the name of this victim's family and announced that the patient had just passed away. So the wife had to drag every step to leave to take care of her husband, who is her bus driver. After a while, the boy was pushed outside in a coma. So the parents immediately followed their son to the hospital room. Stress and fear began to rise for the rest of the family. A new uncle who has just taken care of his wife's aftermath has to come back to wait for news from the schoolgirl Hunju. After that, this girl was also pushed out in a state that was still breathing. So the father also followed his daughter. Next, the same-sex girl Sun Hai was pushed out and moved to the hospital room by her parents. At this time, only one last couple remained and could no longer hold back their tears. Another body was also pushed out, but luckily it was not a family member of this couple. Is Hee-won's sister who is in love with the same sex. A police officer came over and asked the couple, "You two are Kim Hun-min's family members, right? We picked up his phone on the bus." The mother immediately reviewed this phone in her heart and whispered, "Don't pile it up. You have to live with your parents." Ji Jong's lover sat outside and called his lover, but the mother hung up, and texting to announce that the Hun-min is loaded. "It's because of you." Ji Jong read this message and was completely depressed. After a while, office worker Hun-min was also pushed out in a state where he was still breathing, and was taken to the intensive care unit. Both husband and wife continued to sit outside and tried to believe that their son would continue to live. The husband immediately blamed his wife for why she texted Ji Jong like that. "He's gonna get mad, so call him back." The wife also said that she was broken so she could not hear. "That's why I objected to the two of them." The husband immediately took out the phone and read the message that Ji Jong had just sent. "He'll go to where I went." And at this time, Ji Jong's lover is also doing a stupid act to follow his lover. When the father decides to text to announce that Hun-min is still alive, Ji Jong can also read it, but it is all too late. The next day, the doctor conducted a conscious test for the girl who fell in love with the same sex. But the situation still didn't make any progress, so he told us that we had done everything we could. Keep monitoring to see how long the patient's life can be extended. After that, the head nurse announced that the victim's family members were waiting outside. So the doctor also went out and informed the patient's family. "We have tried our best. Whether we can overcome it or not depends on the patient's will to live." The victim's mother immediately burst into tears because the doctor entrusted her son's life to the will while he was still in a coma. Nurse John Ji then went to the bathroom. While sitting in the bathroom, someone knocked on the door and asked. The doctor said that whether he regained consciousness or not depends on the patient's will. How exactly does that happen? How can a person who is unconscious find the power of that will? The nurse also said that I was actually always curious about it. I had an accident and found unconscious at the scene. The doctor told my mother in the same way that the patient's will was the key now. My mother was very sad because she didn't understand that. But I woke up not long after, but I don't know exactly what brought me to my senses. I'm sorry that even though I'm a nurse, I still don't have an answer to the question. How does a person have willpower when they are in a coma, and where will they find it? We can only wait and do everything in our power. Suddenly, the door shook again and the lights went off. The woman outside suggested that she had to do everything to save the girl. Suddenly, this person appeared at the top with a full appearance. After a while, the light came back on normally, and the janitor also knocked on the door of this bathroom. So Nurse John Ji also walked outside. Later, when Nurse John Ji was sitting on duty in the intensive care unit, there was a man who kept living in this place. When the nurse told her relatives not to enter this room, he asked where the morgue was. At this time, there was a patient who was showing abnormal signs due to a slipped air duct. So all the nurses had to run to see the patient's condition. When John Ji came back, he didn't see the man he had just seen anymore. Suddenly, this man appeared at a shop selling lamps. He looked everywhere but couldn't find a lamp that suited him. So I immediately took a look at the shopkeeper and walked out, and this lamp shop is also a very special place. With the management of the street vendor, and it never closes. For ordinary customers who enter this shop, the street shop owner still sells the lamps that these customers request. But for special customers like this woman with red sandals, it is completely different. Because they don't come here to buy lights, but to go to the store for a completely different purpose. At this time, after being asked by the shop owner not to touch anything, this woman also left the shop. Nurse John G drove to the hospital and saw a lot of people wearing morning clothes. And there was an old lady sitting next to a guy who was wearing a black suit. But in fact, he was just sitting alone and wearing the funeral director's bandage. Then John G went to greet this old lady and she asked, "Can you see Grandma? Are you piled up?" John G immediately told me that I almost stabbed him once. "What are you doing here?" This old woman also said that because she couldn't stand the crying of her relatives for her, she came here. It was time for her to leave, but everyone was crying. John G immediately asked about the boy sitting next to her earlier, and the old woman also boasted that it was her youngest grandson. When John G complimented him on how handsome he was, the old woman immediately showed a sense of pride. But then he regretted that he was about to forget about that nephew and said, "Today she has been shrouded, so tomorrow she will go. She will forget everything she already knows about this world." Today was the last day she could remember it all. But she couldn't stop worrying about her grandson, and she was happy if someone told her she would be fine. "Can you do that?" But John G couldn't put it into words. Then she took out the tomatoes to eat and asked the old lady to tell her about her nephew. So the old woman immediately told the story of her nephew with a joyful expression. And no one could see this old woman except Nurse John G. Later, while working, John G saw a long-haired girl crying and cracking next to a male patient who was in a coma. So John G immediately went to the edge of this sick forest and said, "We've done what we can for him, we're just waiting for his will." And where does he get his will from? Then that's something I can't know. When her lover heard it, she understood that she had to try to maintain the will to survive for her lover. Suddenly, at this time, the Hanju girl was still able to go to class as if nothing had happened. After that, the teacher went into the question to start the evening self-study lesson and conducted the attendance of the classmates. But Hanju waited forever and didn't see the teacher call his name. After a while, a thunder and lightning sounded, startling the whole class. The two girls sitting at the table above turned around to talk to the bespectacled friend and said that, "I heard that there is a ghost in our school," and some of them said that they saw that girl in a girl's clothes appear. "I heard that if any class has a vacancy, that ghost will appear." So they all immediately looked at the empty chair of the classroom. After that, these three friends continued their story and Hanju was like an invisible person, when you can only sit and listen without being noticed. After a while, they all walked out together. Then the chubby girl continued to tell the story of a bright and dark alley in front of her. "I heard that every night, there are people with golden rings here and you can hear strange singing." Hanju immediately said that as long as he came to the other side, he would see the light immediately. But the three friends didn't care about Hanju's words, and they left together because they trembled in fear at this mysterious alley. But the Hanju schoolgirl decided to go into this alley alone, and hear the footsteps of someone behind you. So Hanju immediately ran into the lamp shop of the uncle who owns the street troop shop, and informed my mother that I need to buy another light bulb. The uncle of the shop owner immediately invited the girl to a candy. After that, the shopkeeper asked about the necklace that Hanju was wearing. So she also said that this is the identity necklace that her father bought for her when she was a child. "My father is working abroad, so I can't see him." "And how old are you?" Uncle Quan Rong immediately told him that he was old enough. When the little girl asked why he always wore sunglasses in the house, then the uncle explained that because this shop was too bright, his eyes were poor. The little girl also asked her uncle what time he opened the shop, and he said until sunrise. Even if there is a guest, he still has to wait until that time. Hanju also said that he was the only reason why he could enter this alley, because it's really dark outside, and it's even scarier. "I've heard that there's a ghost nearby, I've seen it. But I couldn't see clearly. I only knew that he was walking with an umbrella." After hearing this, the shopkeeper immediately said, "I think you've seen something that people can't see. I'm one of those people who has the ability to see strange people, and I've seen it already. He has been watching this store for a long time, so he has observed customers very carefully. There are many types of people who come here at night. Most of them are just ordinary people who come to buy light bulbs. But there are also some people who are a little weird. They can blend in with the rest of us. If you look closely, you will notice that there is always something different about them." Hanju immediately asked, "What if I saw them?" The shopkeeper immediately told him that if he saw them, he would just pretend that he didn't see them. "But if you do, pretend that you can't see anything strange from them. Just like that, I don't see anything. After that, the shopkeeper asked Hunju to go home with his mother, and gave the schoolgirl a manually charged flashlight for her to light up the way when she went outside in the dark. When Hunju had left, the shopkeeper carefully put the candy shell in the box. After a while, the uncle of this shop owner also returned to his original fake form. And suddenly at this time, the girl who loves copper under Shin, he is also looking to rent a house from the long-haired boss to live in. After going to review the rotation of the house, the girl also decided to rent this house. In the evening, when Shen he had just finished bathing, the boy was just walking outside. Just hummed a song to reduce the fear of walking in the scary dark alley. After a quick move, the boy also escaped from the dark alley behind him. The Shen he girl was writing when she heard the singing of a boy outside, so she was extremely uncomfortable. Because at this time, the male student continued to appear in this alley and went to the lamp shop but did not dare to go inside. After a while, it rained again and the boy continued to hold the umbrella and walked in this alley. And I don't know how to get out, so I continue to hum old songs to relieve my fear. After that, the Shen he girl also opened the window and asked. He was the one who sang in this alley every night, but the boy saw something, so he was afraid to run away, making Shen he extremely confused. At this time, in class, the teacher also allowed all female students to finish the class, so the whole class also said goodbye to the teacher to leave. Now the friend sitting next to Huan-Du was asleep on the table, but the two friends sitting at the table above decided not to wake this girl up, but just left. Huan-Du also called this friend to wake up and leave, but it didn't have any effect, so Huan-Du also walked out alone. After that, standing in front of a dark alley and without a shadow of a person, the schoolgirl decided to start her flashlight and slowly move towards the alley. Suddenly, I saw a woman walking in front of me, and she was wearing a pair of striking red shoes, and I noticed that this woman didn't have an umbrella to cover. So Huan-Du immediately ran over to invite this woman to cover her umbrella with her. When this woman asked me where I was going, Huan-Du also told me to go to the lamp shop because my mother asked me to buy some things. When this woman continued to walk, Huan-Du immediately followed to cover the umbrella and told this woman that she lived in the middle of the house. Suddenly, the schoolgirl noticed that this woman's hair was growing automatically, and then this woman moved with reckless steps. Next, she automatically rose to the height of a giant right in front of the schoolgirl's eyes, and Huan-Du immediately remembered the words of the lamp shop owner. If you see them, just pretend that there is nothing strange. So Huan-Du also announced that he had to go home with his mother and immediately walked forward. When he turned around, he saw a giant woman chasing him. So Huan-Du ran away and screamed loudly. The owner of the street lamp shop heard the scream, so he immediately ran out. When he saw the giant woman coming, the shopkeeper suggested that Huan-Du go home with his mother. So the schoolgirl also shrunk and ran away. At this time, the uncle also took off his glasses. Suddenly, the giant woman walked into the forest and turned her back. After that, he returned to his original size, so the shop owner also put on his glasses. The schoolgirl wakes up from her sleep and sees a strange girl appearing in her classroom. The boy was walking in a dark alley when he came face to face with the girl. Rong was walking with a suitcase, so the boy couldn't help but be startled. After that, the boy also said, I was going to a light shop at the end of this alley. It was very bright, so if I could go there, I could go home. Let's go there together. After that, the two also covered the umbrella together to go to the lamp shop. The boy and Ji Rong walked past this house. Then the boy immediately said, this is the only window that lights up in this alley. The day before, when this light was just turned off, a girl opened the window. But I saw another person standing behind her, and that woman was very strange. When Ji Rong continued to walk, the boy pulled the girl back, and saw the nails growing upside down on this woman's hand. Suddenly, the boy's legs were also completely reversed. But the boy still tried to get up and move every step with great difficulty, in order to escape from this monstrous woman. Then he ran away in a heightened panic and kept screaming for help. But the more he moved, the more he returned to the house where the window was flashing. The boy continued to try to move but still returned to the same position. So sit down on the ground and beg, please help me get out of here. I want to go home now. At this time, in the house, the girl was excited when she had just finished taking a shower. When he saw a long mess of hair under the sewer, he was extremely frightened. After a while, she saw the window moving automatically, and the girl also felt it. All the irregularities that occur in the house are caused by some ghost. Since it was born to live in the dark, it often turned off the lights to survive in this house. Shen he immediately rushed out but couldn't open the door. So the girl immediately used a hammer to break the glass of this door. But still unable to open it, the girl immediately burst into tears and called for someone to come to save her. But no one could hear the girl's cry for help. After a while, the girl Yizhong also dragged her suitcase into the light shop. When the shopkeeper asked her what she was here for, Yizhong just pulled the suitcase around the shop. When she saw a light going out, the girl immediately turned her eyes to her suitcase. But there was blood flowing from this suitcase. Suddenly, at this time, a man in a raincoat walked into the lamp shop and informed the shop owner, "I am a policeman. I am looking for a suspect who is in his 30s, 1m8 tall and has short hair. I lost track of him in this area. This is also the only place that is open at this time." The girl Yizhong immediately pulled the suitcase and left. The policeman saw the drops of blood on the floor, so he immediately called this woman back. Yizhong immediately announced that my body was not feeling well. So the policeman also guessed that this girl was on her bridal shower. So the policeman voluntarily gave his raincoat and put it on the girl. After that, Yizhong also left the lamp that had just been eyed. The beautiful woman kissed Du after running away for a while. Then she remembered that her mother had told her to buy a light bulb. So the girl immediately ran back and passed by the Yizhong girl. When he arrived at the light shop, the shop owner asked the girl to leave. "I'm fine, so let's go home with my mother." The policeman felt very suspicious of this strange light shop. When the shopkeeper asked him what he was here for, then the policeman said that because this place is always lit, I just came here. Then he saw a light flashing off. And a month ago, there was a girl who was repeatedly knocked on the door by her ex-boyfriend. So the girl screamed and asked her boyfriend's name not to bother her life anymore, and threatened to call the police to arrest him. When she didn't hear a knock on the door anymore, the girl opened the door. Suddenly, a motorcycle rushed over and the girl was also thrown from the house that had been burned. Immediately afterwards, this perpetrator also stepped on a bus to escape. But when the car door was closed, the police officer Jiang also knocked on the car door and asked the driver to cooperate with the police. Then ask all passengers to get out of the car. After a while, he also caught this perpetrator. Suddenly, he saw that the lover he had taken action with was in the car. After that, he was also escorted to the station. That evening, there was an old man who was watching TV alone with his hands full of trembling. Then there was a hidden person knocking on the door of the house. The next day, when the police officer Jiang was in the office, a man wearing glasses appeared at the police station as a witness to the case. After that, the colleague also showed Mr. Jiang a file about the death of a lonely elderly man. There was a witness who found him dead at home. But according to the medical examination, it was determined that he died suddenly due to a stroke. Police officer Jiang immediately went to the victim's house for an examination. Then I saw that the old man was still sitting in the same position and had passed away when he collapsed on the chair. With the TV still in operation, the colleague also told the person who discovered him to be a renter of the house. His wife died many years ago, and his children are all abroad, so he lives alone. But police officer Jiang said he did not have a heart attack, for there were no signs of pain or the fields. But in him he was very serene. Police officer Jiang immediately checked the history of the call in this old man's phone. It was discovered that he only called his children and grandchildren before he died. After that, the police officer paid attention to the location of the remote next to this old man. The colleague realized that the program on TV was just a replay. Officer Jiang speculated that he would not know how to use that function, and only the channel switch on the controller is worn. The next day, while eating black soy sauce noodles, he got soy sauce on his hand. Then the police officer immediately remembered the image of the deceased old man. When you see the black lines on the wall. Then the policeman remembered the mark on the ground at the old man's house, because he felt doubtful about the quality of the old man. So the police officer went around the shops selling black soy sauce noodles in the area to investigate. It wasn't until late in the evening that Jiang decided to try his luck at one last noodle shop. So the policeman immediately went into this restaurant, then ordered a bowl of black soy sauce noodles and a rectangular delivery bin placed on the ground. The police officer also recognized that this person had appeared at the police station as a witness. Then, while enjoying this bowl of black soy sauce noodles, then the policeman remembered that the old man only called his children and grandchildren before he died. So I immediately told the shop owner he didn't call to order. Why did he deliver the goods there, even though he was pronounced dead naturally? But I still found it very suspicious because his calm expression was not normal at all. He only knows how to switch channels, but the TV program is turning on the playback function. He is right-handed, but the control is on the left side, so I'm sure someone has gone there. For I saw the mark of a barrel beneath the ground. The black piles I saw on the ground were the sauce of black soy sauce noodles. Didn't you make them? The shopkeeper also came to the light and asked why he was talking so impolitely. I was afraid that I didn't know what he was talking about, so the police officer Jiang also paid the money and walked away. The police officer went to the police station and studied the file of the owner of the noodle shop, Kim Sang-hun. It was discovered that he had been a witness in many different cases. A month later, a girl was chased by a motorcyclist. The police officer was wearing a raincoat to block his head when he was thrown to the ground by this car. When he took off his helmet, it was the owner of the black soy sauce noodle shop that the policeman had met last month. So I immediately refused to restrain him and called him a murderer. But this guy asked him if he could see her too. And the girl who was pursued was the victim who was set on fire by her boyfriend a month ago, with an extremely bizarre face. The owner of the noodle shop also told me to believe his true eyes because she was not a human anymore. After that, the owner of the noodle shop also got up to crawl and ran and was fiercely chased by the police officer. When he was able to put down the owner of the noodle shop, the policeman realized that this person had a cat-like eye, and a truck is also rushing. At this time, the policeman also asked the owner of the light shop about a motorcyclist about 1m8 tall, and owning a pair of eyes like a cat's eyes. Suddenly, one of the policeman's eyes was turned upside down and moved upwards. When he saw a flashing light, the policeman didn't care. Later, when the shopkeeper announced that he had never seen the person he was looking for, the policeman also walked out. Later, when he was walking on the street, the policeman remembered that his wife had informed him before. I was pregnant after 4 months of having a baby. Although both husband and wife have prepared a lot of furniture and put a lot of names to prepare to welcome their baby girl. So it makes both husband and wife very heartbroken. Immediately afterwards, police officer Zhang had to track down a criminal who had committed a crime against a high school girl, when running into the classroom to find the perpetrator. Then the policeman saw the names of the schoolgirls. It is very similar to the name I gave to the baby who was not given life, so it made the policeman extremely painful. After that, when he returned home, the wife ran away from home again. Returning to the present at this time, the policeman kept moving but still returned to the lamp shop. Then he fell to the ground again and felt his body extremely abnormal. Especially the eyes have been constantly distorted. That day, Nurse Janji came to the hospital to work. When entering the elevator, there was also a person with a wet body, and it was the umbrella driver. When he learned that this uncle also wanted to go to the 8th floor of the intensive care unit, Janji asked why. The driver's uncle immediately asked the victims of the car accident if they could regain consciousness. The nurse also said that they were very seriously injured. Whether they wake up or not depends on their desire to live. The driver's uncle immediately burst into tears. Suddenly a lot of water started flowing out, and it came from the driver's uncle's body. It made Janji very scared, and then the water also rose to flood this elevator. But the nurse still tried to communicate with this strange uncle. When the elevator opened, everything was back to normal, and Janji also regained his spirit to return to work. Then put on a listening hand to help awaken a patient's vital will. Soon after, Janji transferred an addicted patient to the intensive care unit, and asked this patient to quit before suffering from other more serious diseases. Because now he has a state of waking up in a dream, so he always says meaningless things. At this time, Janji also asked who he had seen when he was enchanted. Is it a man with a bride in the face? People who have had serious accidents or who are addicted to attending can be enchanted from time to time. The emergency room is the name that stands between birth and death, so it is understandable that he sees them. After that, when he took this patient to the general hospital room, then he showed signs of gasping and panicking. So Janji sat down and asked, "I've also seen the man you've seen." After that, he showed the patient the incision on his head and told him, "I was in a serious car accident and was taken to the intensive care unit. I had a brain injury, I couldn't live, but I still didn't get better. When I was lucky enough to wake up, it took me a hard time adjusting everything. I still see a few people from time to time, and I don't even know if they're still human, because they may have piled up or are wandering just like I used to. The man he saw always asked me where the morgue was. He was a patient who had lost consciousness and was really just waiting for the substance. And at that time, Janji helped this patient clean his hands and agreed with him. I heard that he was sentenced to life because he owed them too much money. He thought that he had left a burden on his family, so he tried to find the morgue, right? I used to wander alone for a long time like you, but then luckily there was someone who gave me the will to continue living. When I was in a coma, the head nurse put a music player on me. Just like that, I've regained consciousness, so don't give up. After that, John G immediately showed this man the music he had heard when he was in a coma. At this time, John G also told the alcoholic guy, if you see a person who is in the realm between life and quality, it means that he himself is also in the middle of life and substance. If you keep seeing that often, who knows what will happen. So please know how to take good care of yourself. The schoolgirl Hun Yu went home and greeted the building security guard, but received no response. Suddenly, an uncle called Hun Yu to stop, and asked about a turtle rescue dog who stayed around the clock in the central residence. Because of it, he couldn't sleep. The schoolgirl immediately thought that this was one of the weird people that the owner of the lamp shop had said. So he immediately started the flashlight and saw that this uncle's whole body was covered with snow and ice. Although it is not winter at this time. The girl immediately tried to appear normal and asked for permission to go home with her mother. So the uncle also told the girl to hurry up and go home. Hun Yu rushed home and panicked about the strange things he had encountered. I've been to the lamp shop, but there are so many weirdos around. The lamp seller asked me to go home, so I didn't buy any light bulbs. Tomorrow I will buy another light bulb, so don't be angry with me. After that, Hun Yu hugged her mother in her arms and felt her mother's body smell very fragrant with fresh flowers. Because at this time, the mother was also being shoved a few times in her throat. After that, it lies next to a lot of fresh flowers in the coffin at the funeral home. After that, he managed the funeral home and the staff cleaned the body of the girl Jizhong to help her no longer feel pain. And if there is reincarnation, it will help her forget everything that happened in this life. After that, this body was put in a storage cabinet. The manager explained to the staff why people usually give people a deadline of 3 days before cremation or burial. It's a tradition that people have been doing for centuries. We wait 3 days to hope that the deceased can come back to life. It is also considered as a time for the deceased to have the opportunity to say goodbye to their relatives. This is the last courtesy we give them, and after 3 days there will be nothing left. And just before taking her last breath, the girl Yizhong was waiting at the bus stop and remembered the happy moment before, when she was sitting in this place with a beautiful flower forest and looking forward to the arrival of his lover. When he saw Hunmin waving to him, Yizhong was extremely happy. At that time, when looking at her nails that were no longer normal, Yizhong remembered the moment when she held hands with her lover at the movie theater. And the memory is beautiful when the two use a double phone together. When they went to the temple, the two communicated together through the drum. At that time, Hunmin said, "I love you," and Yizhong responded by tapping on the drum. But at this time, Yizhong was able to utter words and call your name of your lover Kim Hunmin. "I love you. I miss you very much." After a while, the bus also came, but Hunmin didn't recognize his lover and just ordered him to walk away. Then he fell and lay down on the road. The two cleaning experts proceeded to clean up the relics that Ms. Yizhong had left behind. But as soon as he touched the deceased girl's thick clothes, he saw something behind the door. And the rustling sounds also came out, so the cleaning staff began to scream and inform his colleague. "She hasn't left yet, so well, come back another day, turn off the lights and listen." And at this time, Yizhong is stitching the wound in the abdomen for his lover. After a while, Hunmin also regained consciousness. Just like that, in the days that followed, Yizhong prepared a suitcase and waited at the bus stop. When she saw that Hunmin had gotten off the bus, she knocked on the seat again to try to awaken the memory of her lover. But the Hunmin just walked quietly and lay down in a pile. So the lover had to continue to try to maintain the consciousness of his lover Hunmin. Then there was a couple who were watching a movie in the garage when they heard the sound of a car pointing to needles. And this girl also found a suitcase nearby, so she hurriedly ran out with her lover because she felt that she was being used. And Yizhong continued to sew for his lover at the place they used to frequent. After a while, Hunmin was also able to get up. The next day, Yizhong asked Hunmin directly, "I didn't recognize you." After that, blood began to flow from Hunmin's body again. So the guy continued to lie down in the mango wave and cracked right after. And the place where Yizhong brought his lover to sew was the temple that the two had visited before. And the next day was the third, and the last day before Yizhong disappeared forever. But Hunmin still can't remember his lover. At this time, at the hospital's funeral home, the staff announced that she could not open the cabinet to clean Ms. Yizhong's body. The manager of the morgue told her that she must be resentful of something. Give her some more time. Hunmin ran back to the middle of his house and stepped into the elevator. When the elevator was just closed, a man blocked the elevator door. The female student noticed that this person was bleeding in her abdomen, so she was very frightened. So when the elevator opened the door, the female student rushed outside and was followed by the Hunmin office worker. So Huanzu hurriedly knocked on the door and kept calling his mother. But in fact, he was living in the apartment next door. The Hunmin guy also asked, "Have you ever met me by chance before?" When he saw the beautiful girl shaking his head, the guy also wondered, "When did I move here?" Suddenly, he was lying on the ground with parts of his body out of order. The voice lover immediately appeared and announced that he was mine. Hunju entered the house and opened the door to take a look. Then I saw that strange woman was putting the uncle next door in the suitcase. The mother immediately covered her daughter's mouth and asked Hunju to be silent. When the woman outside has left, then Hunju immediately escaped from his mother's arms and kept asking, "Why don't you open the door for me? I'm very strange these days." But the mother did not reply with a single sentence, but only gave the box for the daughter to put the light bulb she had bought. But Hunju announced that I didn't buy any light bulbs. I don't want to go to that light bulb shop anymore because I'm scared. I've been meeting weird people these days. I don't care about you at all. They all ignored what he said and pretended not to know him. Then the girl knocked out all the bulbs in the box and said, "I won't buy another light bulb. I won't leave the house anymore, and then I will hide in my room." The girl took the elevator downstairs and asked her lover who was in the suitcase, "I don't know why you can't remember me." But when he stepped out of the elevator, then Yi Luong didn't know where to go to awaken the memory of his lover. Nurse Zongi came home from work. Then I saw a boy holding a ball waiting outside. The boy immediately said that he was looking for someone lying in that room. Because of this, I want to give it to him. When the nurse told me that I was not allowed to bring things in from the outside, then the boy was full of sadness and said, "I don't know his name, but he put this on my neck on the day of the bus accident. I guess he likes this ball very much." Zongi immediately told me who he was. "I can return it for you. Then, receive the ball from the boy who survived the bus accident the day before." The Zongi girl was dragging her suitcase and walking down the dark alley when she came face to face with the peeing man. But because the two had never met before, they also passed each other's lives. After that, the police officer Jiang also went to this place and turned on the lighter. When looking at the light of the lighter, the policeman also recalled his vague memories before he got lost in this dark alley. The same wound on the back of the head. At this time, a lamp was also flashing in the light shop. Police officer Jiang appeared and asked the shop owner for a hot cup of coffee. But when he drank the coffee, the policeman said that he did not feel the taste of this coffee. I wandered here and there and realized that something was wrong here. Thanks to this lighter, I feel the difference in this black shop. It was a dark night that never ended. And my body is also very strange. I need to know where this is. The shopkeeper immediately took off his glasses to let the policeman see his cat-like eyes, and began to tell the story of his life. Once upon a time, after an earthquake, then the army and his daughter Zui were trapped beneath the rubble. At that time, the father tried his best to free his daughter, but he was completely hopeless to see his father's helplessness. So the daughter picked up the candies, then gave her father a candy and told her, "Dad has to wake up." And Zui also put the candy in her mouth to have the strength to work hard with her father. After that, the father promised that he would come back before the child finished eating the candy. "Can you be alone? Try to wait, he'll come to pick you up." When the father let go of his hand, the daughter also said that she was too tired. So the father suggested that you wake up, I will come back to pick you up, so don't sleep. After that, the father also tried to leave. The military father found a dark alley. Then they tried to rescue him, but no one responded and he did not see a shadow of a person. After a while, he saw a single stream of light coming from a house. So the army immediately went into this lamp shop to ask for help from the shop owner. "My daughter is stuck out there. I hope you will help me." But the shopkeeper announced that it was too late, it wasn't his business, so he left. When the father continued to beg very bitterly, then the shopkeeper said that if she wanted to come here, she had to go by herself. The father immediately sobbed and said that my daughter was trapped. After that, she screamed loudly and kept asking, "How could someone be in trouble?" And she was so calm. "What if I smash all this place?" When the army had just swung down a lamp, the shopkeeper opened her glasses. Then he used his magic eyes to turn off all the lights and freeze his father. When the lamp is returned to its original location, then the shop owner also put on glasses to make everything return to normal. After that, it was announced that his daughter's light bulb was also here. Dewey still peeled candy for her father and asked, "Is he awake?" Then she put this candy in the shell and put the other candy in her mouth and said, "Dad, I'm so scared. I want to be hugged by you. I probably can't follow you." And the father was lying unconscious next to his daughter. At the light shop at this time, the father was very worried about his daughter and was crying very bitterly. After understanding why I came to this light shop, then the line officer asked the shopkeeper to give me her light bulb. But the shopkeeper told her to come and get it herself of her own volition. The father immediately declared that I would do everything for her. "Tell me what to do." The shopkeeper immediately asked if he would really do everything, even if it took a lot of his time. Then the shopkeeper turned her gaze to a very faint lamp and said, "Now let's talk to each other." At this time, the policeman still couldn't understand this story and asked, "I came here as soon as I had an accident, so am I piling up?" The shopkeeper immediately said that basically he was still alive. At this time, one of the policeman's eyes began to twitch repeatedly. Then he told me that I had seen a ghost. It was obvious that she had been suffocated by smoke, but I saw her. If I'm still alive, why do I look weird like this? The shopkeeper said that people often look unusual when they travel in the afterlife. That's why they are called ghosts. Those whose lives have been cut short due to unfortunate incidents. It is possible to continue living in this place. There are also people who can't accept their quality, so they are the gold village here. The policeman immediately suggested to stop and closed with a question. "Where is this, after all? Don't explain confusing things anymore. Tell me something easier to understand." The shopkeeper immediately announced that he was in the afterlife. Now in the emergency department, there is a new nurse coming to take the job. Nurse Bayonne also informed me that this was my first time working. So please tell me. But all of them were indifferent, except for her senior. So the head nurse asked John G to guide the new nurse. Soon afterwards, John G also instructed the nurse how to work and said, "Recently, our department has just received a lot of critical patients from the bus accident, so we need to keep a close eye on them." Then he led Nurse Bayonne to visit a male patient. He was also the first person to arrive at the hospital on the day the bus crashed. But he was not a victim in that traffic accident, because there was another accident that occurred on the same day. That day, this Bongjin patient was lost in the mountains. After that, he stumbled, so the rescue team sent him to search. He was unconscious due to a dangerously low body temperature because it was raining very heavily at that time. When the rescue team discovered the victim, then the uncle for the rescue tried to use his body to keep him warm. Thanks to this, his survival stats did not drop too low. He was right there even though it was raining heavily. When the Bayonne nurse asked him how he was doing, John G said that he had not recovered, because it was pierced in the abdomen by a tree when it was found. But these dogs are trained to follow the victims until they are saved. At this time, in the realm of consciousness, then the Bongjin guy was continuing to bundle his quilt because he was annoyed by the sound of turtle dogs outside. Then he went outside and shouted, "If you let me see you, you're strong." But then he decided to run downstairs to find the dog. When he saw it running by, he also hurriedly chased after it. After chasing for a while with an angry expression, then this guy also showed signs of fatigue. But then he continued to chase this dog. After catching up with the rescue dog, then the Bongjin guy noticed that the dog was pierced by a tree through his stomach. Suddenly, the memory of when I was covered by this dog came back. So Bongjin immediately went down and said, "I apologized," and the dog ran back to bite this guy. After that, this dog also ran away to take this guy somewhere. He was at his wife's funeral. Then he called the emergency department of the hospital to inquire about the current condition of Hunja's daughter. But the head nurse said she still showed no signs of waking up. At this time, Jianji also told the nurse who had just come to work. She was also a passenger on the bus in distress. The head injury caused her to suffer a subdural hemorrhage. From the outside, the little girl looked like there was no problem at all. However, this hemorrhage has a very low survival rate. She was with her mother when the incident happened. I think the mother did her best to protect her daughter, so she avoided the worst. When the nurse asked how the mother was doing, Jianji shook his head and said, when she woke up, everything would be a nightmare for her. So I hope she is having a beautiful dream. At this time, in the afterlife, the Hunju schoolgirl was also sobbing. After breaking all the lamps that the mother forced her daughter to buy, the mother also knocked on the door of her daughter's room, but Hunju did not open the door. So the mother decided to leave the house with a sore leg. Jianji continues to tell the new nurse about the female patient, Sun Hai. When she was moved in, there was another woman who was holding her tightly. We can barely separate them before surgery. She hadn't regained consciousness, and the other woman hadn't survived. At the same time, in the dark alley, the Haegun woman is also warming up her lover Sun Hai to sleep, and suggested that Sun Hai go buy a new lamp. Sun Hai immediately used the excuse that she had damaged the lock to refuse to go out, but Haegun insisted that the door was always open for me to go. When I went out the door, there was a shop selling lights at the end of the alley. Go there to find your light bulb. When Sun Hai heard this, she burst into tears and burst into tears. Jianji continued to check on the male patron who had been in the emergency department for the longest time, and asked Nurse Bayon to lift the bed to change her position, in order to help the monk prevent fire ulcers. After that, the nurse accidentally dropped this lattice listening hand, but Jianji also put it back on for the servant and said, I put on my listening hand to help your majesty have more motivation, so that the lady does not wander and find the light. At this time, unconsciously, this gentleman was also about to go into the morgue, but he heard the music echoing behind him, as if to urge him to find a different direction. After that, Nurse Bayon asked about a basketball placed under the sick forest of a male stool. Then Jianji told me that I thought it was his favorite sport, so I put him there in the hope that he would come to this boy. Now the head nurse asked all the nurses to go out for a while. After that, the medical team finally greeted a patient who had passed away forever after a day in a coma. Jianji also encouraged the novice nurse and said, slowly, she will get used to it. This is the hardest thing to do when working in an intensive care department. The poor Nurse Bayon walked to the hospital room and looked at the comatose ladies, and asked Jianji if all the ladies were in a coma. Jianji said that it was also very rare, but because this was a serious name, there's a precept that exists where we're working, and you and I are the guardians of that precept. And these monks are now at the border, and they are probably wandering in a realm of the afterlife. They'll probably come back, or maybe they'll still be there. At the morgue, the employee felt uncomfortable when she looked at the name of the driver. But the manager said that the bus might need to be repaired. But the long-distance condition is also a factor that causes it to get into an accident. After that, I put the nameplate on the storage cabinet and announced that we would prepare a funeral for him right now. At the same time, the umbrella driver was also wandering in the famous world of the afterlife. And when he saw a basketball moving, he immediately followed it. After that, this ball also went to the boy Ji Wang. The driver immediately said that I had been looking for him everywhere. When the boy asked me if I knew him, then the driver suggested to be explained on the way, we have to get out of this place. The boy immediately said that all this time he had been trying to find a way to get out of here. But this alley goes on and on without getting out. The driver immediately said, I can get you out of here, we don't have much time. They'll try to hold you out. When this boy was gone, Ji Wang also said that no matter how far he went, he would always stop here. This alley seemed to have no end. But I'm not the only one trapped in this alley. Where we met earlier, I saw a woman by the window. At this time at the light shop, the policeman touched the back of his head and noticed that his wound was still fresh, and realized that this is the afterlife where everyone can move on. If a person's life is shortened due to an accident, then they will be able to continue here. Because I haven't finished yet, I look weird like this. The shopkeeper also asked if he had a child, so the policeman also said that my wife had already been pregnant. The shopkeeper immediately read out the names that the policeman had planned to give to his unborn baby girl, causing the policeman to burst into tears. After that, the shopkeeper continued to say, the children here often have names like that. Believe it or not, it's up to you, but people still live in this world and they're doing the best they can. The policeman asked me why he didn't tell me the truth about this world. The shopkeeper said that because he could go back if he knew the truth about this place, it meant that he would remember it. Those who want to leave here must leave and have no memory of this place. Otherwise, they would be confused between the two worlds and unable to distinguish between time and space. Those who want to return to the human world should not build any relationships here. I was the one guarding that border. Why did you chase that man on a motorcycle? The policeman told me he thought he was a murderer. He had the same eyes as you, and when I tried to chase him, I went to this black shop. So maybe he wanted to lead me here. I want to see him again to check on one thing in person." The shopkeeper immediately suggested that you just go. "Haven't you found your light bulb yet?" After that, the policeman also turned on the lighter to light the way for him. At this moment, the nurse John Ji also discovered that the police officer Jiang was moving his body. So he immediately ran to check his consciousness and kept calling this policeman's name. After that, he also shed a stream of tears. The dog was stabbed through a tree and ran to the light shop to guide the Bongjin guy into this shop. The dog also tried to point out the light bulb that represented this guy's life. So he immediately touched the lamp that was burning very weakly. The umbrella driver was also tired at this time, so he also dropped the boy Ji Wang. After that, he asked the boy to go to the shop that was lit up over there. "Go in there and find your light bulb." It represented his will to continue living. He had to go in there himself. But the boy said he never wanted to go there. The driver immediately said that was the only way for him to leave this alley. When the boy walked away, the driver immediately apologized. "I want to apologize to you for everything." But the boy didn't understand this idea, so he still moved forward. And the driver burst into tears and watched the boy walk into the light shop. The boy walked in step by step. Then the shopkeeper also said, "I have been watching you for a while. You've been passing by here a few times, so what do you need here?" The boy looked around for a while and said, "I need my light bulb," and the shop owner also suggested the location of that bulb. So the boy immediately approached and gently touched the filament light bulb. The shopkeeper also said that he hoped that we would never see each other again. In the intensive care unit, the guy used to want to go to the morgue. He also suddenly opened his eyes and woke up on the hospital bed with a stream of tears falling. After that, he offered to hold the hand of the nurse John Ji in exchange for thanking her. At this time, there was a driver passing by the location where the bus name incident had occurred. And seeing something, he got out of the car to check. But he didn't see anything, so he drove the car away. And in fact, at this time, the John girl was sewing the wound for her lover at this bridge. After that, the Hunmin guy also woke up. At the morgue, the door of Miss John's body storage cabinet had not yet been opened, so the manager suggested that he give her one more day. Now the soul of the John girl was still waiting at the bus stop. After that, she decided to go straight to the oncoming bus, causing the bus to stop as well. But the driver didn't know what had happened to his bus. At this time, John also stepped on the bus and asked his lover Hunmin directly, "Don't you recognize me? How long are you going to pretend? Do you love me? All the people in the car can't see us. Only you can see me. I'm running out of time." Then the girl took off her shirt, so that Hunmin could see the stitches on her lover's belly. So the Hunmin guy also seems to have remembered something. When he got home, the guy sobbed and apologized to Ji John because he didn't recognize you. At the morgue, the manager also decided not to wait any longer and suggested that he had to take things to open the door immediately. So now, Ji John also wiped away his tears and asked his lover to do something for me. "Go to the light bulb shop and tell them you need a light bulb to light up when you get close to it. You have to use your will to find it," but Hunmin did not understand the meaning of this work. The umbrella driver returned to the place where he had met the boy earlier and tried to climb the fence to enter the house. Suddenly, the two golfer woman opened the window and asked, "Uncle is also good, so am I?" The driver immediately apologized. "I realized that there was a problem with the brakes, but because I was afraid that I would have to pay for myself and wanted the company to deal with the consequences. I'm sincerely sorry for you. If I had known about this incident, I wouldn't have done it." The two golfer also said that it was all caused by his uncle, but it was also a relief to hear his true apologies. Accidents are not inevitable. Both we and my uncle are unhappy, but don't blame yourself anymore because misfortune is predestined. Where are you going now? The driver announced that he would continue to search. "I will find the survivors and take them to the light shop because there is not much time left." The two golfer asked me to go to the middle house. There was a female student who told me that she was in the middle of the house, so the driver's uncle also left. Huan Du Les' mother took every hard step on the road. Then he saw the umbrella driver coming and knelt down and apologized. "I've been looking for you everywhere. I'm gonna take you to the light shop right now." When she saw her grandmother sucking on a shroud in school. Then the driver also realized that this woman had died just like him. The mother immediately pointed to the apartment where her daughter was staying, and then continued to walk forward. At this time, at home, the schoolgirl Huan Du also walked out of the room to look for her mother and pick up the debris from the lights. The mother went into the light shop, then held out her daughter's necklace, when looking at the name engraved on the transfer pendant. Then the shop owner also realized that this was a schoolgirl who had come to this shop to buy lights. Realizing that this mother was begging very sincerely, the shop owner immediately said, "She has to come here by herself. Can't you bring her here? I can't help." When Huan Du's mother grabbed him by the collar, then the shopkeeper immediately took off his glasses. At this moment, the mother immediately knelt down and realized something. You should keep crying and try to say something but can't put it into words. Suddenly, he saw a candy cane. So the mother immediately took a handful of candy and put it in the hand of the shopkeeper and put it to her mouth. But the owner of the Huandong shop still didn't understand the story. So the mother immediately peeled off a candy and put it in the mouth of the shop owner. So Huandong immediately burst into tears and realized that this was his daughter who had been trapped in the earthquake. So she immediately hugged her grown daughter in her arms. And in the old days, after talking to the owner of the light shop, then the father brought the lamp to his daughter and put her hand on this lamp to light it up. The female student Huan Du pressed the button to enter the elevator, but the grandmother standing in the elevator didn't know why the elevator opened the door. Later, when he went downstairs, Huan Du saw an uncle lying on the stairs. The umbrella driver immediately announced that he was coming to look for him. On the way here, I met my mother. My mother can't talk now, so I want to pass on what my mother can't say. Don't you remember what happened? We met once. Since I don't remember, I probably don't know where we are. At this time, the driver continued to vomit all the water out, but a neighbor just passed by without paying any attention to the two of them. The driver also said that she didn't see us. Remember the way everyone around you behaves, and you will understand everything. Huan Du recalled that when he was in the classroom, he was not taken care of by the teacher. When friends talk together, they don't mention me at all. Even turning off the lights when I was in the toilet. When I greeted the security guard, I didn't get a response. At this time, Huan Du was also bleeding from the nose and was very panicked. The driver immediately told me that I was really sorry. Maybe I can't take you to the light shop myself. Until now, my mother has been trying to bring me back. After that, Huan Yu sat and waited in the house. Then the mother also took the lamp that was burning very faintly and walked home, and gave it to his daughter. But Huan Du withdrew his hand and was determined not to touch this lamp. Then he asked, "Can't you stay with me? Let me stay with you. I just want to stay with you." But the mother continued to force her daughter. At this time, Huan Du saw the lint cloth in his mother's mouth. The mother returned the transmission line and continued to snatch Huan Du's arm. After that, I tried my best to say, "My father is waiting." So Huan Du immediately burst into tears and sobbed and pressed close to his mother's face. After that, the mother also pressed Huan Du's hand against the light bulb, and the umbrella driver was completely exhausted. At this time, the Xianhe girl was also saying goodbye to her lover's sister to go to the light shop. After a few moments of attachment, Xianhe also walked out of the house and burst into tears when she had to say goodbye to her loved one. After that, Xianhe wore red shoes and stood in front of the light shop, and also decided to open the door to go inside. The girl looked at the lights here, and also discovered the lamp that represents his life. So I also touched this lamp. Soon after, the patient Xianhe also opened her eyes and woke up on the hospital bed. But not long after, Xianhe walked back with his lover's sister and announced, "I'm back with you." Because now all the nurses are expressing their grief over the passing of the patient Xianhe. Because just now, when Xianhe had just picked up the lamp, he asked the shopkeeper, "If I drop it, will I be able to live here?" The line immediately said that if you take it away, it will make it easier for people to move on. So Xianhe also said that I wanted to live in a world where the two of us could be together. Then let go of the lamp and crack. At this time, when Xianhe's body was taken away, then a nurse was sad when she woke up and had to leave. Johnny called it reflexive reflection, which is sobriety before death. She must have seen the light already. At the same time, the girl Yizhong also led her lover to the light shop and asked me to go inside. The Hunmin guy immediately burst into tears and hugged his lover tightly. Yizhong suggested that he must find his light bulb. After that, the Hunmin also slowly moved forward, then looked at her lover for a moment and then walked into the light shop. Hunmin began to search and recall her lover's words. "When you get closer, that light will light up." But the shopkeeper asked him not to touch anything. It didn't seem like it was his will. At this time, Hunmin has also found his light bulb. The lover saw a flash of light. Then he rushed over and saw his lover and the light bulb anywhere. So I immediately burst into tears because I had to be separated forever. The osmotic time passed until 3 months later. At this time, the nurse Zongi walked in to see the Zhuang boy who was about to be discharged from the hospital. But he was still in a coma and said, "Sometimes I dream of wandering somewhere. When I woke up, my body was drenched in sweat. But strangely, I felt very comfortable." The nurse sister immediately gave the boy a gift. And inside there is a pair of sandals that can glow, to help Hunmin not get lost in the dark anymore. When I heard the nurse tell me, I hoped we would never see each other again. Then the boy immediately said, "It seems that you have heard this sentence somewhere." Zongi also said that the person was cold on the outside and kind on the inside. Then he walked straight out of the hospital room. Zongi went outside and felt how beautiful the light was outside. Then he continued to walk in joy. Earlier, Zongi had repeatedly asked the nuns who were unconscious, "You must find that light," because this is also an experience that the nurse has experienced. At this time, at the light shop, the long-haired old man used to rent a house to the girl Sun Hai, bringing a box and saying to the shopkeeper, "It seems that there has been another name, and there are quite a few more residents." Quan Zong opened the box and saw a lot of light bulbs flickering faintly, so he immediately said that he didn't know if they would become residents or just stay here for a while. And in the afterlife, the umbrella driver can continue his favorite job, and the girl Sun Hai continues with her writing work, and being able to live next to her lover's sister without being talked about by anyone. And in this world, the Hunju girl is also being returned to school by her father to start studying again. When the father asked if he was really okay, Hunju also told me that I am no longer fascinated. So I am very excited to see my friends again. When Hunju told me that I would take the bus home by myself, the father announced that he would be here and wait for his son to leave school at the school gate. Then, to encourage his daughter, Hunju also took out the rope to gain more strength. When entering the classroom, the teacher suggested that everyone do group homework, and ask who will team up with Hunju to help her review the knowledge she has forgotten. When I saw that they all turned their eyes to me, Hunju asked the teacher to skip this assignment because she had been absent from school for too long. But all his friends urged him to form a group with him. After that, Hunju asked for permission to go to the school's medical room. When Hunju was walking, there was a girl standing nearby. Hunju walked out into the snow when he felt the coldness of the faucet. Hunju senses the world in his infatuation as real and subtle. "Mom, I remember I don't want to treat coma because I want to remember you. It's a relief to know that that world exists. Mom." Suddenly, Hunju saw a girl dressed as a schoolgirl in the middle of the cold snow. This girl immediately asked, "Don't you remember meeting me? He used to wave to me from that window. He even talked to me again." He turned on the light when he saw that I was still in the bathroom. I didn't have any friends before, but he saw me and even greeted me. "After you left, I was left alone, so I followed you here." At the light shop at this time, the owner of the Wonzong shop was sipping a hot cup of coffee next to his uncle for rescue. Then the daughter Zui also came in and said, "It's snowing very hard outside, Dad." After that, he squeezed his shoulders because his father had to be on duty at this lamp shop all the time. When the father was going to give candy to his daughter like when she was a child. Then the three daughters took the initiative to do this themselves, and then both father and daughter chatted very happily together. And this isn't the only light shop in the world either. At this time, the police officer brought his flesh and bone body to the black soy sauce noodle shop, but it was completely unsightly. The Jiang police immediately asked him to come out here. "I heard that there is a ghost in this area, is it you?" Mr. Kim Sang-hun, the owner of the shop wearing black glasses, also appeared when his name was called, when the owner of the shop made a cup of coffee. Then the Jiang police officer also introduced his name. Then he asked, "Did you shield me when the truck arrived?" After I was discharged from the hospital, everyone said that it was he who saved me, thanked me and apologized to him. "You always led me to the light shop, didn't you?" He put on his glasses and confirmed that everything was true and said that I was just doing my job. "My job is to send people who shouldn't have been here to another world, or help them come back here from that world. That's why I chased after the girl who had piled up, and the old man died at home because he had lived alone for a long time, and he was starving when he couldn't leave the house. So I came to let him enjoy a bowl of black soy sauce noodles. It was considered one last meal before he died. When he took his last breath, then I turned on his favorite replay, and his life would begin again in a new world. When the police officer asked what exactly he was doing here, then he put on glasses and told me to just visit. Now I have to go, and you also have a special eye, don't you? You can see things that others don't. Not everyone can see ghosts like you. Even the fact that you can see me is very special. Please take these glasses. Now it's yours, now you have a lot of work to do. After that, the police officer Jiang also wore these glasses to continue the work that the noodle shop owner left behind. Nurse John Ji drove to the hospital to work and picked up a dumbbell on the ground. A man appeared and announced that it was mine. Then he recognized this nurse and immediately said, "How long have I been looking for you? Why are you doing this to me? I was in a lot of pain, I was in a car accident." But she ignored me when I was in a lot of pain. After that, this person started to fight with John Ji. So the nurse immediately ran away and was thrown into the corner. When he was about to swing the dumbbell, this strange man cooperate to be left safely, then show him his cat's eyes. At this time, the Hunmin guy had to regularly see a psychologist, because he often experiences delirium after being regained consciousness. In the hospital's intensive care unit with an emaciated face, the guy also begged the doctor to help him get out of this situation. "For my whole mind is now only a dark black. It was said that I had a girlfriend and she was dead, but I couldn't remember anything. I'm really a miserable cripple and am also crippled." But the doctor said that this was just a common symptom of delirium. But Hunming was still extremely agitated. The doctor immediately suggested that Hunming keep what is necessary and throw away all the things that bother you. After that, Hunmin also drove the automatic mausoleum to leave. When he reached a bridge, the car ran out of energy, so Hunmin had to use his hands to move the wheelbarrow. When he arrived at the area where his bus accident occurred, Hunmin immediately reviewed the messages he had sent to his lover. It made the guy even more curious about the past, so it made Hunmin extremely angry, and decided to throw away the phone to get rid of the troubles. And 3 months ago, when I put on makeup for the girl Yizong before the ceremony, then the manager of the morgue communicated with Yizong's soul, and suggested that the girl not dwell on the past but go to a better place. But Yizong is not resigned when his lover still can't remember who he is. Although I tried so hard for him to remember, does he really love me? I was very sad and very upset. I really hope he remembers me and calls my name again. At this time, the Hunmin guy also took the limousine home, and also unable to remember the password to enter the house. Suddenly, the automatic lights were turned off completely. When you wave your hand to activate the light, then it was like the act that the guy waved back to his lover. So Yizong immediately appeared and will continue to follow Hunmin to fulfill his last wish. Police officer Zhang stopped investigating the case of the mysteriously missing schoolgirl, because she probably brought her ghost back to the afterlife. At this time, another female student appeared at the police station. A colleague also said that a few days ago, Dongwon High School collapsed. At that time, this sister was at the scene when the incident occurred that night. When the policeman asked me if I was injured, then this girl said that I was not hurt at all, and it seems that this girl is also a very special person.